Hey, today I want to talk about how to get out of the victim's role. How to get out of the victim position or role, R-O-L-E. I guess first of all, you have to know the signs that you are a victim. Signs that let you know that you are a victim. Well, I'm not even going to say you are a victim, but I'll say you're operating in a victim's position. You're operating from a victim's position or role. The first sign would be that you're just angry. You're very angry. You're angry. You're bitter. You feel like injustice is just done to you and you're just mad. You're just mad about it. You're in a perpetual state of being angry. You're stressed. You can't get your life together because you're being pulled by outside people, places, and things. And when I say outside, I'm not saying outside of your house. I'm saying outside of yourself. Because you can have the stress coming from your house, the people in your house, the people, places, or things that are in your immediate environment can be the main things that's making you angry. And 9 times out of 10, it is that. 9 times out of 10, it is that. So if you are walking around in a perpetual state of anger and bitterness, and you're just stressed, and you have like a fearful air about you because you're fearful of the future. You don't know what's going to take place in your next moment because you are in a state of fight or flight all the time. Your adrenal gland is overactive and you just can't get yourself together. So that is some signs that you are operating from a victim position. Now, what can you do to get out of this position? What can you do? The first thing you have to do is admit and acknowledge that you are being a victim. Admit and acknowledge that you are operating beyond and below your jurisdiction. Okay, and when I say your jurisdiction, it's because you are the boss of you. You are the CEO of what goes on in your life. You are the CEO. You are the boss. So if anybody else has been given that control, been given that power, then you are not operating in your jurisdiction. You're not operating. If someone is a judge, they went to school and they have the credentials and they are a judge, then guess what? They have those credentials. So anybody else that they allow to make the rules, you know, even in the courtroom, they allow everybody to like override their decisions. They allow everybody to just like put them in a subservient role, then guess what? They're operating below and beyond their jurisdiction. And they are giving their power to everybody else. So that's the same way with you and your life. You are the one that is born here with this body. You are the one that's born here and put on this earth with a body. So you are the CEO of that body. So whenever we allow outside forces, outside people, outside things to push us way down in our own existence, in our own body, and we allow them to push, pull, and rule us, then we are out of order. We are out of order. And there was a spirit back in the day that operated in the King Ahab. And it was a passive spirit. It was a spirit that allowed his wife Jezebel, who had like a very controlling spirit, to rule for real. You know, he was the king. He was the one with the position, but he was not the ruler of that position. He had another force that was like ruling and making the decisions for him, because he was afraid. He was afraid, and he didn't have the courage to override that spirit of he didn't have the courage to override the wimp in him, or the fear factor, or the force that was causing him to just be subservient. I'll say that. He didn't have the courage to override and get past that. So he allowed Jezebel, his wife, to make the rules. He depended on Jezebel. Actually, it was a codependent situation, because he was weak and she was strong. So she was strong and he was weak. So that was even a codependent situation on her behalf also. And he just allowed, he wouldn't stand in his position. He wouldn't stand in his position, so he gave his power away. You know, there was a saying back in the day that one of my old friends told me. He said, because the conversation was, why is she allowing this man to like dog her out like that? This was when I was in my 20s. And why is he like doing that? Why is he even treating her like that? And my friend told me, he said, if you see a donkey, ride it. If you see a donkey, ride it. And I have always remembered that, because it's just like, if you choose to become a donkey, and anybody can get on you and ride you, and I ain't talking sexual, I'm just saying if they can like cast project themselves and their desires upon you, and you take on that sponge, or you take on that role of being a mount and a donkey for any person, place, or thing that wants to like use you, then you're going to have those people that are going to use you. You're going to have those people who don't care, and they are going to use you, because that's what they do. They are users. They are users in life, and they just wait for people who they can use. So yeah, the first thing that you're going to have to do is just accept that you are in that role of a donkey, per se. You are in that submissive, subservient role. Because until you admit it, and until you become uncomfortable with that role, you're going to always be in that victim role, okay? So the first thing you have to do is recognize and admit that you are in that role. And then the second thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to educate yourself so you can strategically move. You can strategically move. And this education will come from, you can look at YouTube clips, you can Google courage, you can Google victim mentality, you can Google Ahab spirit, Jezebel spirit. You can just start Googling and educating yourself, because people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge. Because if you gain the knowledge that lets you know that you are in a situation that you don't have to be in, if you gain that knowledge, then you're going to 9 times out of 10 begin to itch. You're going to begin to like want that freedom. You're going to begin to see, this ain't normal. This ain't normal. No, I want something different. And that's what you're going to begin to foster in your life. So whenever you find yourself in a victim mentality, or a victim position, or the role of a position, or the role of a victim, or position of a victim, then you have to like educate yourself, and you have to like know the moves of a victim role. You have to know the signs. You have to know the habits that you have fallen into, that have even like caused you to be in that situation. You have to just begin to recognize what you did to get yourself there, basically. What you did to get yourself there. Because being a victim is not just being an unhappy spouse. There are so many other, like millions of ways that you can be a victim. Be in a victim position. And you know, a lot of people might say, well, you know, I'm married and I'm not happy. You know what? It's a lot of things in marriage that you have to just deal with, and you're going to have to like make the best out of it. Now, if they are like beating you, abusing you in any kind of way, they have like situations where they have sexual challenges where they're like just over the top, they don't want to change. I mean, you have to like deal with that stuff. Yeah, you have to deal with it. But things in marriage, as far as people's characters and people's habits that they've had forever, basically, you're gonna have to like just pray and work your way through that kind of stuff. Hopefully both spouses are willing participants and they're willing to change, and you have to allow people room for growth. You know, because if you got married when you was like in your late 20s or early 30s and y'all like 40 and 50 now, and or, you know, there's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of mindset changes. There's been a lot of growth. There's been a lot of growth, whether you fought the growth and you fought against the growth. There's gonna be growth. Even whenever a baby comes out of the womb, they're an infant, then they become a toddler, and then, you know, they grow. You grow. Growth is a natural process. So anything that's not growing is stagnant and of no use. Of no use. So you want your spouse to grow, but you have to know whenever it's growing curves, and you're just gonna have to learn to deal with those curves. And you're growing. You know, he has to deal with you. If you're a man, then she has to deal with you too. She has to deal with your growth spurts. So you have to like recognize the seasons and the natural progression of growth. You have to recognize that and know that will take place. That will take place. So you have to like be ready for that growth. So whenever you become a victim, whenever you put yourself in a victim role, is whenever there's a toxic situation. It's a toxic situation, and you chose to submit to it and not challenge it. You chose to submit and not challenge it. Or either you challenged it and you had kickback and you chose to finally just like compromise with it. Or a lot of times people in victim roles is not even really compromising with the other person. They're compromising with themselves, for real. Because whenever you tried to like build boundaries and this other person is totally like ignoring you time after time, year after year again, then you're only negotiating with yourself at this point. They don't hear you. They're not going to do it. And you are negotiating with yourself. So I'm not talking about whenever you start negotiating with yourself. I'm talking about whenever you just like decide to like stop challenging what that other person is doing, and you just like letting it ride. You just letting it ride. You just like, okay, I can't do nothing about it, so I'm gonna let him go ahead and keep cheating on me. Or I'm gonna let my coworker keep on like talking to me like I'm her child. Or I'm gonna keep, you know, letting my kids drain me every month. You know, my grown kids that have families, and they keep like taking, you know, like wanting money from me every month. I'm still having to like pay their bills and sustain them. So that's whenever you have to like be careful and not become that victim. Because whenever you're like saying, man, I'm tired of them asking me for money all the time, you know, they need to stop spending their money on drugs, or they need to stop spending their money on all of this stuff. They're like paying for what they want and begging me for what they need. and you're angry about it, you're carrying the stress. You're carrying the stress and the bitterness, and they just like going on month to month, year to year, just knowing that they're going to do the same thing over and over, because you're not going to raise a standard and set a boundary and just cut them off and be like, listen, that ain't happening no more. And then they can get angry. They get angry with you. They get angry, and you can't take the anger. You can't take the state of them being angry with you, so you give in again. Nah, you're going to have to do something different to get out of that victim role. You're going to have to like say, I don't care if you are angry. You know, those your children, you birthed them. They're grown. They even have kids. You know what I'm saying? They're grown now, but those are your children. You're not their child. So you're going to have to get in your role. You're going to have to get out of the victim position and get back into your jurisdiction. Hey, get out of the victim position and get into your jurisdiction. So whenever you do this, it will be a battle, because you have to like enforce boundaries. So there will be a battle, but you're going to have to nevertheless just go through the moments, go through the time and the process and the procedures that it takes to get your freedom, If you have like a circle and these people are your so-called friends, but you're the one that's always taking the brunt of well, you're always getting the short end of the stick. It's because you're not setting boundaries. It's because you're not setting the boundaries. So they know that they can give you the short end of the stick, and you're going to take it. So in order to like get out of that victim position, you're going to have to stop taking the short end of the stick. Even if you have to call them out and let them know you know what they are doing. Call them out. All of this to get out of this position, out of this victim position, you're going to have to use courage. And courage does not mean there's going to be an absence of fear, because you can still have a little fear, but your courage is still going to push you forward. The courage, is going to push you forward. So you're going to have to like pray to the Lord and ask for courage. Just ask for new levels of courage, and on the same token, you're going to have to exercise that. You're going to have to gain the courage, and you're going to have to be courageous. You're the one that's going to have to be courageous. The Lord is not going to send a courageous angel to fight your battles. You're going to have to be courageous. He's going to give you the anointing, and he's going to give you his word to make you step out on courage. Because really courage is faith. Courage is faith. I mean, you have the faith to believe, you have the courage to do. You have the faith to believe, you have the courage to do. Okay? So get out of that victim position. Get out of that victim mentality, because definitely the mentality is going to have to change. The mentality is going to have to change, and you're going to have to like put new thoughts there. You're going to have to put a new mindset there. You're going to have to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You can't continue to like operate with those same toxic thoughts that keep pushing you down into that subservient role. You're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and get past that initial look where you say, I don't like my hair, I don't like my eyes, my head is skinny, you know, my nose is big, my ears are this and that. You're going to have to get past all of that. That's you. And unless you have some plastic surgery, then you can't do nothing about it. All you can do is enhance it. Put some earrings in them ears. I mean, I have really small ears. You know, my ears look a little funny to me. But I just don't need, I mean, it's me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I was younger, I used to like, that stuff used to be like magnified in me. You know, it was magnified, but now it's just like, you know what, it is what it is at this point. It is what it is, you know. Am I going to put my ears on a campaign for a magazine, you know, and they looking for like big you know, like a certain kind of ear, and I know my ear is not that, no, I'm not going to do that. Am I going to submit myself to like situations where the flaws are going to be like called out? No, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to still live with myself. I'm going to live with myself because it's who I am, and everyone has something. Everybody has something. Everybody has something that they could change about themselves if they could. Everybody does. And a lot of people, they deal with their looks. They deal with a whole lot of things, you know, that concern them. They just go on in life. They just go on in life. You know, some people can be snaggletooth, whatever, and they still doing what they do. You know, me personally, you know, I had a lot of dental work done when I was younger, you know, as a preteen and stuff, because I had braces. So I had to get some teeth pulled. I had to get some teeth filled, and I have these like silver fillings and everything, and I don't like that. When I'm talking and stuff, you know, it can look like my teeth are rotten up in there. I mean, but guess what? I was talking to one of my best friends about it, and we were like laughing and everything, and you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not gonna do anything about it per se, at least not at this point. You know, some people say you can go get, you know, those fillings out and get those fillings that look like your teeth or whatever. But then I had another friend who worked in a dental office, and she said if it ain't nothing wrong with them, it ain't hurting, it ain't doing nothing, don't let them just pull those fillings out and put new fillings in, because it may become a problem in the future. And you know, I agree with that. I mean, I know people do get cosmetic stuff, and that works too, I guess, but right now I'm just gonna say if it ain't broke, I ain't gonna fix it right now. So yeah, it's always something. It's always something, and that was just a moment of just being transparent with a flaw that I perceive. You know, it ain't really a flaw, but I see it. I see it. So yeah, y'all, you've got to get out of that victim mentality and do something different. You have to do something different with the mindset. Okay? So I don't want to make this video too long, but just get out of that victim position. Get out of the role of a victim. Do something different. Do something different. You will be glad you did. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and have a marvelous month. Thank you.